I don't understand.
What's up, Gator?
Nobody is using the algorithm the Swamp Institute team developed. We put it in our GitHub repository and it works perfectly.
Did you provide a license for the algorithm so people know what the terms of use are?
Ah, yes, I forgot about that. I'll add a license now. That should sort it out. I still don't get it, Fair Frog. Still, no one is using it.
Let me see. It might be because your license is 35 pages long and written in Finnish. You need a standard machine-readable license, not just any old license, Gator.
Helpful advice as usual, Fair. But I've just remembered. I have another urgent project back in the swamp. Mustache.
If only Data Gator had followed fair data principles. R is for reusable. Any licenses for data reuse or commercialization of products must be standard and machine-readable. This gives your data the best chance of being reused and shared. So this is what you've been working on all this time, Gator. What is it?
A time machine. It's a long story, but Swamp Institute has a small problem with some patient clinical data that we want to reuse for a new study.
Go on.
Unfortunately, the consent forms at the patient's side won't allow the data to be reused, so I'm going back in time to rewrite the consent form. And while I'm there, I need to fix one or two other things.
Such as?
Well, people have finally started using our algorithm and it's doing so well that we want to commercialize it, but we can't show the provenance of the data we use to develop it. So I need to find out a few things, like where the training data came from when it was collected and who made the quality check. Wish me luck. I'm going back to 2010.
Good luck with that, Gator, and be careful. As well as a proper reuse license, you must be able to show the provenance of your data, and it goes without saying that software developers need to follow community standards. Making data reusable can be quite tricky in practice, so I've agreed to speak to Evert-Ben van Veen, who's a legal advisor from the Human Exposome Assessment Platform project. Evert-Ben, do you have any general advice for researchers about reusing data?
Every reuse license will be different. It depends on the project and the provenance of the data. The important thing is to remember that data doesn't have to be completely open. Data can be restricted and still be reusable. It is as open as possible and as closed as necessary.
Thanks. What specific steps should researchers take to make sure their data is reusable?
There are many steps, and I can only give a few highlights. If consent is the legal basis, and usually it is, embed fair in it. Be clear and avoid sentences like, the data will only be used by us. Also be transparent about the conditions for the reuse of the data. If there is a data access committee, that should be clearly mentioned in the license.
Thanks, Evert-Ben. That's great advice. Now, let's see how all of this works in practice. Our HEAP researcher, Chiara, is helping us out here. She's working with some sensitive clinical data at the moment. Chiara, can you tell us more?
I'm working on a type of epigenetic data called DNA methylation. It tells us how aging, smoking, or external factors imprint onto an individual genetic material. Therefore, it's particularly sensitive because it tells us so much about the donor and it may be identifiable.
That does sound challenging. So how have you addressed the issue of reuse in this particular study?
Our data is deposited in the European Genome Phenome Archive, which complies with community standards. The data is controlled by a data access committee, and prior to use, an agreement securing data protection has to be signed by the potential user. So while our data is restricted, it's also reusable. We hope that this will allow other researchers to use our data and enable new discoveries.
Thanks, Chiara. That sounds like a better idea than a time machine. That reminds me, I wonder how Data Gator got on.
This doesn't look right. Fair Frog, is that you? I think I went back too far.
Did you manage to change the past?
No, the time machine didn't work, but I have a new toy now.
A crystal ball?
It will help me see what I need to do in future to avoid all that lost research.
In the future, Gator, there'll be no need for time travel. The HEAP project team have developed an online self-assessment service to help you decide how best to organise your research so your data can be easily reused. It's much easier than building a time machine. It's time for us to continue our journey now, but thank you so much for joining us in our Fair Data adventures.
I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. Bye for now.